Hey, everybody, welcome back. I'm Bill Faeth, your host of SDR Unfiltered. And today I have a very special guest. You know, I don't do guests very often. So strap in. This is going to be a tremendous interview. And I'm not the guy that says all this bullshit after I've interviewed the guest. I don't even know what's going to happen. But I promise you, this guest, Paula, is going to be one, she's going to rock your ear pods with, her Southern accent and, the drawl, which is just mesmerizing to me. That's one of the things I love about living in the buckle of the Bible Belt. But I'm going to let her do her intro. But if you follow me and you know about my 37 startups and my journey to, I'm probably about 45 days from breaking the $1 billion mark in sales. I'm pretty excited about that. It's only taken me about 31 years. But to do vertical integrations within the primary business that I do as a startup, and I think that's something that Paul is going to talk about, something that you can take to where you don't have to do a bunch of different industries, a bunch of different verticals. Focus on your primary business, build that to a certain level to where you have some level of financial freedom, some level of stability with cash flow and margin, and then start looking at doing vertical integration. So without further ado, I want to introduce you to Paula Blankenship. Hi, Paula. How are you today?
Hi. Hey, thanks for having me, Bill. I know you don't have a lot of guests, so hopefully I'll bring some value to your listening guests here today. So,
I am certain you are going to be absolutely amazing. So I talk a lot, Paula. I'm also a pretty good listener. So I just want to kind of sit back and be the listener today and just let you I've read through your story. Mutual friend of ours, Steve Carless, introduced us. I've talked with him for about 15, 20 minutes about you. I'm interested to learn your story and for my listeners. So why don't you do your own Southern introduction?
sure, absolutely. Well, I'm a proud Southerner. You know that I'm from Tennessee and a small town in Tennessee, born and raised there all my life. And I kind of have an unorthodox upbringing, I would say. I was raised by entrepreneurial parents who were in the furniture business. My grandparents were in the restaurant business. So I always grew up kind of self employed with that mindset. Rode my tricycle in their furniture store, always seen them in debt and borrowing money, buying things. And that was never a fear of mine. So that's one thing I think I walked into always being an entrepreneur with an open mind, thinking, don't spend any money, you don't make any money. So you can't sell from an empty wagon. That was something my mother coined that phrase a long time ago. And I certainly believe that you have to have something to sell and you have to have plenty of it if you want to give customers a selection. So with that, I got into the furniture business for about 23 years and ran my businesses in their business, in their stores, in their warehousing, and all that. As they retired, my sister and I took over. We own both sides of the street in our little hometown, and several buildings there. So, we were blessed to have that opportunity in a small town. You don't have to always, we probably didn't even buy a business license back in that day. We just throw up a store sign and open up, and here you go. So we were successful in our own right doing that and learned a lot. And in 2008, I had two furniture stores and a floor covering and a paint store in my hometown. So we were doing quite well. We were in a area where people were building a second home, and they were coming into our little town to escape Gatlinburg and Pigeon Forge. And so we were doing turnkey cabins, and I'm a designer by trade. And so I would help people make these beautiful homes where they could just walk in and go to bed, dishes in the cabinet, sheets on the bed, the whole works. So people with money were buying turnkey homes from us basically, and letting me design them. So this was a wonderful business until 2008. 2008, the economy went completely off the rails. And I was wondering, what are we going to do? The money dried up, interest rates were crazy, people weren't building a second home. So those opportunities were slim and none walking in my door. A man walked in my door and hired me from New York City. And I went to work for him in Manhattan in the Long Island area. I worked up there about 8 years doing high rise for him. He was a billionaire, had no idea who he was when he came in. And he had heard about me doing a home there in town and asked me to come help him. And so that turned into be something wonderful. And that kind of catapulted me into a different mindset. Again, always entrepreneurial, always never having a boss per se, but he was letting me work contracts for him. And I started doing all of these big projects for him. But he was also such a huge inspiration, showed me that being tough and being firm, believing in your ideas. He had been a son of two immigrants that had moved from Italy to New York City, and he come up hard, very hard. His father was an alcoholic, beat his mother, and all those things. So he learned that pure grit made him a wealthy man very young. So I listened to him, and as hard as he was to work for, he taught me, iron sharpens iron, steel sharpens steel. So he taught me a lot of things. And I also got to see myself in that arena for people who are highly educated and all these Harvard and Yale grads that we were working with. I realized I had a lot of salt. So I come and applied that to my own life. My son at that time, while I was working in New York, was coming into high school. And I picked up and moved us to Louisville, Kentucky, not knowing a soul there because I heard of a great school to put him in there called Trinity High School. And he was all for it until we got here, and he hated me for doing it. But I started this little paint company in my kitchen just to kind of keep him occupied, give him a little taste of home, something he and I could do to, get us back on a good level because he was upset that I had put him in a school with no girls. And he wasn't happy that he had to wear a necktie and all that to school every day, but it was the best thing I ever did. Trust me, it was a hard, single mother, you got to be the love and the discipline. And I was both. And he thanks me for it today, but there was a hard time there too. So anyway, I got him through all that. And he and I started selling this little paint line I had developed in my kitchen in the beginning. We started selling it on eBay, and it was just my goal was to sell $100 a day in paint, just to buy back the product, put it back out there, just to pay him $20, $30 a day. He was happy for that, whatever. That was really the goal. That was really the truly the goal. But early, I decided that this was different. I'd sold paint all my life, but there was not a thing called the internet at that moment. So all of a sudden, there's something popping up, Facebook. And I'm like, Facebook, let's share that on Facebook. So I'd paint something, put it on Facebook. People would ask questions about it. And so I realized early on that people did not understand how simple it was to paint something, that there was a lot of confusion out there. So I thought if I could solve some of this confusion for folks, maybe this would help them understand that painting is the greatest tool in the crayon box. As a designer, paint has always been my go-to to fix anything. And I thought if people understood that, and I could remove some of the angst that people have about prepping, sanding, all those things, that maybe that this might be something different. And maybe we could do something unique in the paint world outside of Sherwin-Williams and Benjamin Moore and all the big boys who basically have sewn up that industry for many years. So the crack in the door was small, but trust me, with that ingenuity and that mindset that I had something different if I wanted to teach the consumer how to use paint properly and also develop a paint. So I found a Dow chemist in North Carolina that wanted to work with me. And I set out on a mission. About 2 years later, I finally had a paint product that did all the things I asked him to create. There had been a lot of advances in resin technology over the years. I had studied that, found out that there was a lot of advancements made, all the things I wanted the paint to do: flex, bend, give, work interior, exterior, and be extremely durable and scrubbable, all without sanding. In other words, a premium bonding ability. So it had to bond, it had to give, it had to flex. And he was like, "Do you want, what else do you want it to do? You was a miracle in a bottle." I said, "That's exactly what I want. I want to make a miracle in a bottle. I want it to self-level. And I want the novice painter who's never painted anything in their life to be successful at this." And he was blown away by my request. But initially, sounded like a task that you couldn't complete, but honestly, we did. So I have a product. Of course, it's evolved and it's better than it's ever been. And that was in 2013. I started that business, and 2000. Well, here we sit today with the 23rd largest paint company in North America. So that happened pretty quick in about 12 years. So you think you're always going to be defeated by the giant out there, and that they could squash you like a bug. And they could. But here's the thing: they didn't want to start simplifying their own message because they make lots of these prep products and all these layers. They don't want to simplify the process. I, on the other hand, wanted to simplify the process. And I used Facebook and turned my camera on and taught my consumer how to use the products. And that is still how I go to market. I thought, I'm going to make QVC right here on my own camera. Nobody can turn me off. I can turn this camera on and teach people how to use my products successfully. And I have, and save people thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars along the way. So I think the best part about the story is today in the digital world, if your messaging people is false, basically if you're telling people that your product does X, Y, and Z and it doesn't deliver, you're dead in the water before you even get started, because they can also turn on their camera and tell what this experience is. It's not what they say. That is a very unusual thing, that a product will over deliver And this product does over deliver. So it gives people exactly what we say. And I think even gives them more than what they anticipated. And they want to tell that story. So when you got people telling the story for you, you cannot beat grassroots marketing when people want to talk about your product and sell it to their friends and tell their friends, here's what I did. You want to paint your cabinets? You don't have to spend $6,000. You can do it yourself, and this product really works. So we have a great testimony to our product, which is basically our success. All rides in the customer testimony, and that's it in a nutshell, right there.
That is an amazing intro. That's 10 minutes of gold right there for everybody
That was an
that's
intro.
listening. Paula, I
Now,
wanna
let's.
unpack a few things. I took some notes while you were going through that, but I wanna start at the end. So I just typed in, so your company is at allinOnePaint.com. A lot my wife's a designer. We design all of our own homes. And one of the things that we've struggled with in the rental space is just deterioration, suitcases, kids, Sharpie markers, all that stuff. So we switched from satin, eggshell, any type of gloss to flat. So we didn't have to retouch up the entire, if magic eraser couldn't get it off, then you got to repaint the entire wall, the entire ceiling, whatever it is. And flat's easier to take care of. So tell me about the logistics of the upkeep once I've used all-in-one paint. And for my listeners out there, this is not a product promo. I have no idea what she's going to tell me. I've never even seen her website until today, but I'm interested in this as a consumer because I'm the guy that my lender's calling me as we're, doing this podcast. Of course, I'm supposed to close on a $3 million property today. There's two houses. I've got to paint full set of cabinets in the guest house. So I've got quotes. You said 6 grand. I've got three quotes between six and 8,500. Right. So I kind of want to break it down for the average user of what the benefits are of all in one paint, why this has helped you grow to be the 23rd largest paint company.
Well, here's the real science of it. Because here's the things I see our customers struggle with. First of all, we have 7 million followers, and if that's not a big enough number, here's why we have those followers. Because first of all, they're using the product and it works. But color is the biggest quandary for most people. The right color. You can paint your cabinets any color in the rainbow, but is it the right color that's harmonious with your fixed items like your countertops and your backsplash and your flooring? That is probably the biggest hurdle most consumers face is what's the right color. So we've even helped you there. So we give you a color card that's just 36 colors, not 3,600 colors, 36 of the best trending colors out there, meaning there's 5 whites, there's all the neutrals that are in the gray family, the warm grays and the cool grays. So if you had a cool gray countertop, let's say, or you wanted something a little more modern, then you would go in that cool gray family, find the color that you like that contrasts best with your wall, whatever the wall color is, or you can use our paint to paint your walls. So I'll give you kind of analogous colors that all work together in a color band so you can see all those. And you don't have to be a color scientist. You can look at those and digest that and figure it out yourself. So with that said, after you've decided the color, the next thing is you hear all these things. Well, a cabinet painter will tell you got to take the doors off. You got to sand these doors. You've got to get through the clear coat to find a product. You got to prime this cabinet and all those things. You got to paint them on one side, flip them over, paint them on the
You're
other, hang them
speaking
back.
my pain right now,
Yeah,
Paula.
it's
You're
the
speaking my
pain.
pain.
I would say this, test it. And you can try it at allinOnePaint.com. Right there, you'll see the free sample offer. You'll get an 8-ounce can of the paint, and it will work for a front door. It'll work for the bathroom cabinets. It'll work for outside, inside, whatever. Test my theory, and I will prove to you right there. You'll get the color card as well. So then you can shop for the colors. You can buy it on our website. You can buy it on Amazon, wherever you want to go. And try it. That way you'll know that I'm not just selling you a bag of tricks here, that it really truly delivers what I'm telling you. So
I
it
want
has
to
a
recap
premium
real quick. I
bond.
want to unpack that, Paula,
Sure,
just
sure, sure.
because you are on to something that could change the investing lives
Oh,
literally of people like myself. So you're telling me when I get back from my couples retreat in Puerto Rico and then I fly to Montana, I literally could order your paint, have it delivered, and I don't have to pull my doors off of my cabinets. I don't have to sand them. I don't have to put, one or two coats of Kills primer on them. I just literally all in one paint right as it sits in the kitchen, I just start painting.
I know it sounds too hard to believe. I just had an event where we offer people to come into an event and they come into our studios here and we shoot this live. So there's always men in the crowd, which I'm always glad to see them, but they're normally the
They're the
naysayers.
skeptics, right?
They're the skeptics because they tell the wife, well, honey, why don't you just go to Sherwin-Williams and Benjamin Moore and buy that paint you know works? Okay. Well, that's fine. I understand that. So I would never try to make them believe it. But what I do, I ask them up front, you guys going to take the doors off the cabinets? Oh, yes. Ain't no way I'd paint them with the doors on. That sounds like a shit job. I was like, okay, well, that's fine. So I show them during the demo. I have them all bring a cabinet door and we all paint together. And I show them what a Euro hinge looks like. And that sounds so easy to take those off and you just snap them back on. But as you know, and you've probably done this, they do not line back up. I don't care who you are, they won't line back up. Plus, you have to figure out how to turn them and paint them without messing up the other side and just the long period of time that takes. So I have a set of trim brushes that we sell. There's 4 brushes in a pack that are perfect for trimming around the hinge. And you just paint it with the doors on while they're hanging. You paint the back, you paint the interior of the door, then you turn it over and paint the outside. Both sides are drying at the same time. I teach you how to do a brush and roll technique, which gives a absolutely beautiful, perfect finish that looks sprayed on, not brushed on. The brush strokes are gone. If you follow my little brush and roll technique and using those trim brushes to paint around the hinges, you will never remove another hinge or another door in your life. So cleaning is the big aspect there. After you've decided the color, the next thing you want to do, you're going to be thinking of primer and all those things, and then getting off the oils and grease. Grease is the enemy to paint, obviously, or any buildup. So you want to remove that. Or if there is loose or peeling paint, obviously you wouldn't want to paint over that. You would sand that. If there's bad finishes around the dishwasher where it's sweating the door or the cabinet face or whatever, you want to remove anything that's loose or peeling or looks like it's coming off. Then clean that with our surface prep deglosser. And we have that in a wipe, just like a baby wipe. We have it in a pop-up wipe and you just wipe it with that little towel and you don't even have to dry behind it. And that is an etching salt, and it really removes grit, grime, grease, and all the buildup hairspray, all the things in a bathroom. And then once that dries, it's ready to be painted. 2 coats generally on any mid-tone or darker tones that are going to cover impeccable. White, you're going to look at about 3 coats. I say 2.5, but it depends on your technique and how you paint. If you'll follow my brush and roll technique, you'll find that it will cover beautifully, even a cashmere, our truest white, over a dark, like a dark colored wood. But it takes a minute to develop your technique on a white. Just make note of that. If you're painting over white, you can put on a primer, but that is the bond. If you put on a bonding primer, let's say Kills, then that's the initial paint coat going on to the surface. That's where the bond lies. You follow me? That's the first coat. That's where the bond is. So our product, our paint contains a superior bond, even to the Kills bond. It is a more durable bonding agent in it than the Kills primer. So it's built into the paint.
Paula, I gotta interrupt you, Paula, because you are blowing my mind right now. I did not anticipate going we were gonna talk about your business and your experience and all that type of stuff, as an entrepreneur, right? But this is as a real estate investor that has bought and sold 67 short-term rentals in the last 8 years, just in my own portfolio. I'm just sitting here thinking, I wish my wife was here and I'd say, "Hey, how many just sets of cabinets. Forget about walls and all that other stuff that we've had to repaint because we very rarely replace. We usually repurpose and then repaint. And I'll bet it's 40 to 50 of those 67. And the average cost is it's probably 6 to 7,000 bucks, maybe 8,000.
I'm going to give them a wonderful tip. First of all, you can paint shutters and front doors and pots and all the things you need for curb appeal to make it look cute. That's a great thing. But the best one completely is the furniture piece. Obviously, wood, you can paint that. But upholstery is what takes a beating in any kind of property where people are in and out. So if you're putting in leather sectionals and things that you hope last, you're going to really want to jot the name allinOnePaint.com down because this product paints leather. So you can go to
Come on,
restore.
Paula.
Oh my God, it's unbelievable what it will do on leather. So you can go out and buy a sectional, let's say, and people want rid of them because they don't know what to do with faded leather. So for $100 or even just go get it, take it out of my basement, you can have it kind of thing. You can paint the leather and make it a beautiful gray, if it was green or brown or whatever, in 1 or 2 coats of paint and keep this thing looking impeccable the whole time. You just touch it up if somebody has a dog scratch it or whatever. It is unbelievable what it will do on leather. So it'll paint vinyl also, but there's a lot of different varieties of cheap vinyls out there, the Chinese stuff that peels and all that. So just kind of, I know you're not furnishing with those things. Most of you are not trying to buy that stuff. The die cast and bonded leathers, those are junk. But if you'll buy real leather, Go find a good leather sofa that somebody's kicked to the wayside on Marketplace. You can make it beautiful and put it in colors. If you're in Florida, paint it in Amalfi or turquoises. And then people, come in and they see this beautiful turquoise sectional, it's like a party scene. So if you got a lot of the coastal properties, it's great for fun. Accent chairs that are leathers and vinyls. Find those old traditional leather chairs and paint them up. You can make beautiful pieces for your short-term rental properties. Wonderful using this product and keep it looking great.
While you're turning this into an owner's masterclass, honestly. I'm literally gonna give this to my wife the second we're
I'll
done
come
and
down to
have
Puerto
her.
Rico wherever you're having this
You wanna
event.
come to Puerto Rico this weekend?
Is it this weekend? Oh
Yeah, we're
my, in
leaving
short term.
Saturday for the couples retreat. Then I gotta go
I'll
if
come
we
down
get
and
back,
do it.
I'm home for a day, and I
I'll
gotta
do
go to
your next
Montana.
speaking event. How's that? You have me come, I'll do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I have the largest short-term rental conference in the industry, and it's gonna be, well, I can't say it publicly because we haven't announced it yet, but next year, I would love to have you come and
Yeah, I'm your guest.
yeah,
I'm
we'll
your
we'll
one
we'll
right there.
talk
Just
about
put me
that for
down.
sure.
Write that on that note there, and I'll come and bring everybody a sample. We'll send in a
I
busload.
wanna take a step back, and you said something to me, and I wanna know what this means to you today.
Sure.
Can't sell from an open wagon.
Empty.
An empty wagon, yes. How
Uh-huh.
did that shape your career? Because I imagine that person, well, I can't remember who said that to you. Was it
My
your father?
mother. My
Your
mother.
mother?
Mhm.
Because you've just put a master class together in 22 minutes on how to sell and position your product without being salesy. But you have to have a full wagon to be able to sell, right? So what does that term mean to you that your mother instilled in you?
Well, it means a lot to me. First of all, my mother was a wonderful entrepreneur and she always grew up in a small town. So she really never knew how she stacked up against the world entrepreneurs. There wasn't social media, LinkedIn, and all those things. She had no idea what strength and power she had in her little head. But nevertheless, she shed that light on me. And I've been a prodigy of hers and she doesn't even know it. So let's hope she does somewhere. But
Believe me,
sorry,
she does, I'm
sorry.
sure.
Yes. But yes, she taught me so many wonderful things, and then, of course, I have a lot of her personality and those things. She never met a stranger and always dreaming and doing. She not wasn't just a dreamer, she was a doer, and, because of that, she took a lot of chances, and a lot of people couldn't always say, "Oh, that was a good chance. That was the good thing you did." Nobody was backing her up. She was kinda living in her own world, and I see that in me. There's not everybody backing me up in all my moves I make because 'cause I'm never still. And, I'm selling, buying, doing, moving. That's how I believe the world has to shake in business. I don't believe there's any neutral zone. I believe it's all moving. So I'm constantly moving my target and reiterating what I'm going to do next. But that empty wagon statement, my mother always had a huge inventory in her furniture business. And when someone walked in, I promise you, she walked them out and they came in there to buy one thing, kind of like Walmart. You go in to buy one thing, get milk, and you come out with a cartload. That was how when you walked in her store, she made sure that she had everything
I
that
call
you
that
might
Target
need in
math.
that household. There was no
Target math,
Walmart.
when my wife goes to Target for one thing and comes back
Exactly.
with 9
It's
of
the
them.
target mentality. Exactly. You go for one thing and you're coming out with $500 worth of crap you didn't need. But my mother's store was set up in that same way. She sold Amana microwaves when there was the first microwave in town. She sold Sony. She sold sewing machines. She sold Gibson guitars. I mean, she sold washer dryers and upholstery. She sold great upholstery, Serta couches and bedding and all the things. So her store was spread out all over the town in different buildings where she would acquire another building to put in more stuff. And she even had a used furniture store where she would take your stuff on trade.
Paula, does growing up in that environment with your mother impact how you manage your inventory today in your business?
Well, it does because it gave me, it made me realize you can't. She tried to be all things to everyone. That's not exactly the way I believe. I believe you have to kind of narrow that just a bit so you can be important to everyone. I don't want to be everything to everyone. I want to find my niche and I want to be the best in that niche.
It's what I call the
Uh,
in and out strategy.
Yes, you cannot be I don't wanna be Sherwin Williams. I don't want to try to make something for every single person walking on the face of the earth. I want to touch homeowners and I want to find people who want to update their home and that's a big wide one right there. That's a big category. So that's wide enough for me. But I want to look for people who want to be doing it themselves. So DIY category is kind of the breakdown of the more finite person I'm looking for, someone willing to pick up the paintbrush.
And you're 100% e-commerce. You're 100% online, correct? You don't
We
have
are
any brick and mortar.
100%. We have a retail store here in our plant just because we
Right.
wanted to have that. But yes, we're online completely, and I would highly suggest that to anyone.
I'm a big believer that what you have done, and when I say the in and out strategy, I'm referring to In and Out Burger, right? I look at like you were in New York for 8 years. You go to a deli, and you go to Katz, and the first time I went to Katz's Deli, I'm like, how do I decide what I want? Okay, I guess I'll do the corned beef, even though I hate it because that's what you're famous for, right?
You
But
were confused.
yeah, 100%. There's too many items. You go to a restaurant or, there was a Jewish deli in Los Angeles when I went to UCLA called Jerry's Deli, and it's like a 5-page menu with 100 items on it.
Too much.
Then you go to In and Out Burger, and it's a burger and fries and shakes, and that's it. It's easy to make a decision, right? So what was that part of when you were developing the product SKUs? Was that part of the methodology?
When I first started the business, I started off making chalk type paint, chalk paint, and it was a very popular term, still is actually. And people liked it because they didn't have to sand and all that. They thought it was a great bond and all that. And I did start off right there when I first started the business, and that was a low entry point for me and low level, low cost entry for to start that paint business. But as I started developing the other product, I was learning at that time. I kept thinking if I make more products, I'll make more sales, make more layers to this, more waxes, more colors, more all those things. And that was kind of my mindset. And I realized there's no way to scale that business. It sounded like the audience I was talking to, every time I'd introduce a new product, it would cause them to buy more stuff. But it also caused me to inventory more, have more sitting on the shelf, have more dead wood on the shelf, all those things. You have to think of the back end as much as the front end. So when you start trying to manufacture, in the beginning, we were not a manufacturer. We were, a marketing company that was bottling some stuff. We're having it made, toll made by a manufacturer, bringing it in. We were bottling it, putting it in a package and shipping it. So that was a different story as my business evolved and the sales increased and we got smarter. We had to get more vertical. We had to learn how to make our own labeling. We had to buy those pieces of equipment. We had to learn how to buy fill lines and all that. And we just in January bought the manufacturer, that a 75-year-old paint company that made my paint. We just bought that company and assumed all of that, all of those plants and all that stuff here in Louisville. So it's been kind of an amazing journey, and I've certainly learned a lot along the way. And there's nothing I would do different, to be honest with you. If I could say I could shorten that trip, and would I do something different? No. And the reason being is it's not all been easy. It's not all been pretty, but I've learned so much about the what nots to do that it helps me know what to do. And I got a takeaway for your audience, and this is something that I always fall back to, and it's almost daily, honestly. Sometimes in business, and no matter what business it is, this applies to everyone. Any business, you're sitting around trying to predict the future, and someone says, "Write a business plan. Tell me how this looks and how all this is going to play out." And all that's a guess, totally guesswork. And you can formulate some things, especially in the short term rental business like yours. But in truth, no one knows what the future holds. No one knows what interest rates are going to be, the next president. All those things are factors in how our finances and our business is going to look. So, here's what I do. Rather than getting overwhelmed by things I cannot change, I roll back to this one statement that I heard Oprah say, of all people. I heard this said. She said, "I don't know the next step forward. I only know the next step. I focus on my next best move." I thought, you know what? If I just dial it back to that right there, that's exactly where I need to be. Think of the next best thing I can do to help this population of people that work for me and that are looking at me for guidance. I don't want to tell them future. That's too much. They can't even contemplate. They're not in the headspace I'm in. They don't lay down at night with what I'm thinking and all that. I just need to help every person in my organization that works for me know the next best move they need to make. And if I can keep everybody on that trajectory, we're going to win. I promise you. That is a winning move. If you don't get in the weeds and you just let that sink in. You just need to know the next best move for you today and then keep that mindset. Let's figure out what we need to do today that moves us one step forward to our goal. Have a North Star, know where you're headed, and that's going to change too. I've got a North Star, but that target is moved. I used to say one day when someone comes along and offers me $10 million for this business, I would take it and run. There is absolutely, I wouldn't take tenfold that number today. So at one time, that was my North Star. So now, as I could have gotten that multiple times and had many people at the table.
That North Star, because it has to move. It's gotta get farther and farther away as you
It
grow,
has
right?
gotten further and further away, thank goodness, because I've been able to just kind of keep on and go, I don't think I should take that for this at this moment. That doesn't sound like that great of a deal anymore. It's all relative. $10 million seemed like a whole lot of money. It is a whole lot of money. I don't want to diminish that by any means, but then I start looking at that and I go, well, I'll just keep working here just a little bit. If I've got to stay on and work for these folks, and generally that's how that works, they want to tie you to the business and earn out whatever. Then if I'm going to work for somebody, it'll be me. And I'm not going to work for them like I would for me. So I'll just stay
Amen.
here. I'm going
I
to just
I've
sit
I've
right
I've
here.
sold 29 businesses, Paula, and I've had to do, I don't even know, probably 20, 21, 22 earnouts, and they all suck.
They all suck because I am not going to work the same. I promise you that. And
The
they know
only
that too.
time I've ever had a job since I've been over 21 years old was having to do earnouts, and they're
That's a
miserable.
job.
It
That feel
is,
like ball
because
and
you're
chain job
what
to
people
me.
don't understand is that our payout's tied to that, right?
Yes, yes. When I do sell it, mine won't be tied to that. When I finally do sell it, when I get to that point, I'm never going to do the earn out. I'm just going to sell it for a
I
number.
wanna go back to what you said about your next move, because and I wanna kinda wrap up with that, because I think a lot of people right now are really stuck, and they're stuck mentally. They're worried about the Democrats, they're worried about the Republicans. It's all election, all that's all you see on Fox or CNN, whatever your news cycle choice is, and they just get paralyzed. Like in my world, they get paralyzed with interest rates. And I
Oh,
don't
sure.
buy interest rate. I could give a shit. If it works in my pro forma and I can financially model it, then you know what? I'm closing on my biggest deal, single family home ever, Paul. I'm buying a $3 million place, like probably within an hour of the time we get done recording this. And I'm paying 7.6%.
But that's not going to let it stop you from getting this deal at
A
this
hundred
moment.
percent, because
Right.
the financials work in the pro forma, the forecast, right?
Hmm.
If
Sure.
rates come down in September, if
You'll
rates come down in
go back.
December, then I might reposition at that point and
Sure.
increase my cash flow. So I don't let that stuff bother me, just like it sounds like you don't either. You are
Not at
focused on
all.
what you can control and what you're gonna lead your team to make that next decision.
I learned something during the last presidential election. I turned that shit off. I did. I turned it off. I turned it off.
I won't
Eh,
watch the debate. I don't watch any
I'm
of
not
it.
watching any of that. Here's something I do know. I've got one vote as a person. I'm going to go throw that lever for the one I believe in the most. And all I'm voting for is somebody that knows how to run a business. And this country's a business, and we're watching it sink like the Titanic. So,
Paula, you and I are cut from the same cloth. I have done 2 posts and 1 email in probably the last 3 weeks. One when former President Trump got shot, and then this morning about and I'm sure you worry about this, the capital gains increase,
oh, sure,
depending
sure.
on
That hurts us
who would
all.
get elected. The lack of bringing back the accelerated depreciation for anybody that's making over probably $500,000 a year, and I know you and I make significantly more than that income-wise. We need to take advantage of those tax advantages, and if they go away, that's gonna impact our ability to continue to reinvest, right?
Right, right. And then that person says on the other side of that, that rich keep getting richer. Well, hopefully the rich are trying to employ the people who are not wanting to be entrepreneurial and seek their own thing. They're wanting to work for someone, and there's all types of people out there that this world has to serve. And everybody's not going to go out and open a business, so we have to take care of the people who are willing to go out and open a business. Listen, there's no guarantee of a paycheck over here on this side. I don't know if anybody's really given that a lot of thought, but there's nobody writing old Paula
The
here and old
haters don't
Bill
give that a
here.
thought, as
That's
you
right.
know,
Old
right?
Bill ain't getting a check if everything goes upside down over here, and neither is Paula. And I may have to move out of my whatever home I'm living in if things go real south here. So, that's what people fail to remember is this is not the comfort zone on this side of the fence, but some people like it one way, some like the other. So in my mind, everybody's not cut out to be an entrepreneur, and I love people thinking that it's something they can learn to be as an entrepreneur. And unfortunately, I don't believe in that mindset. I don't believe it's something you learn to be. I believe it is who you are and the essence of you. If you're it's a gambling situation, but I like to gamble on what I call a sure bet, but there's no sure bets in
So
anything. But
I agree with what you just said, but I also disagree a little bit. And it's the second note I took of what you said. I think you're born with the entrepreneurial spirit, but I think I think a lot of it is bred into us when we grow up.
Oh,
And I
sure.
think and the second thing I wrote down was salt in all caps, and you said
Mhm.
you had the salt. And just from what I've learned about you in this 35 minutes, I believe your mother gave you your salt.
Oh, 1000%. Absolutely. My dad was a hard worker too, but my mother could work around him and never saw the end. And I'm the same. I love to work. And most people that you are probably tuned into and on listening on this podcast enjoy work. And there's nothing about the word work to me is not an ugly word. I can't wait to get up and face the day. And there's going to be a lot of ugly arguments. And you start working with a lot of people. I feel like I am coach. I'm a coach. I'm coaching teams of people on how to get along. There's personal elements that come into everything you do, and it's not easy when you start working with big groups of people. When you get to the top of the food chain here, all crap rolls downhill to me. So it's not like I get to come pulling in a pretty car and everything's just glorious, and they roll out a red carpet for me, and I walk in, and somebody carries me a drink or a cup of coffee. That's horseshit. That's none of that's happening. What really happens is I'm in the trenches here from the minute I open my eyes about a problem that we have, and I have to figure out how to solve it. So that's what it truly looks like here. And I know you know that already too, Bill. So anybody who thinks that being entrepreneurial is the easy way and it's not the 9 to 5 pressures, it's totally the opposite of that. But that's who I am, and that's who you are, I'm sure.
It's very hard, and you gotta have that salt. There is no question in my mind. Paula, you know what? I feel like I've just spent 36 minutes talking to Dolly Parton, not about the music side, but about her entrepreneurial side. I've had the pleasure of sitting down with her twice, and you
Dolly's a friend of
remind me of
mine.
her a lot, a lot.
Oh, that's great.
Paula, thank you so much for literally being the longest podcast I've ever done on this podcast. Hopefully that tells you it was
Maybe they hung up
valuable.
about 20 minutes ago. Let's hope
Man,
not.
you are an amazing lady. I
Thank
can't
you. You're
wait to
so
have
sweet.
another discussion with you, and because I have 9 more notes that we didn't even get to on this.
Well, there you go. I'll come to your event and you can ask me those, okay? We'll come to that event. You can ask me those in person. How's that?
That sounds amazing. So
Okay.
everybody that's here, hit up Paula, All in One Paint. I'm gonna check it out. I'm going straight to my wife the second I get done
And I'll
here.
send you some, Bill. I'll send you some. I'll comp you some. How's that? Just tell me
I am
what you want.
happy to pay for it. I appreciate that, but I like paying my own way as I'm sure you do too.
I do
But,
too.
I'm gonna my wife will probably order some today, and we'll probably
That's
test
great.
it
Let me
in
know,
one too.
please. Text me, please. You have my number. Text me so I'll know it's
Awesome.
you.
I appreciate it, Paula. Thanks for being here.
All
Have a
right.
wonderful day. We'll talk soon.
Thank you all. All right. Take care, everyone. Bye bye.
Happy hosting, everybody.